Today we're going to talk about 9 negotiating tips that will help you to settle your insurance claim for maximum value. My name is Chris Denmon. I'm an attorney at Denmon Perlman. I've been doing this sort of stuff for over a decade, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you some tips that we use in training of our attorneys and our case managers to help you negotiate the maximum value that you can in your insurance claim. Negotiating tip number 1 is know what the value of your claim is before you ever pick up the phone and talk to the insurance adjuster. In our firm, what we do is we want to figure out 2 things. One is we do the settlement range of our case. We start by figuring out a low end and a high end of what we think the value of our case is going to be. We bracket it. The next thing we do is we set a bottom number. This is the absolutely whatever we do, we will not settle the case for anything less than that bottom number. And the beauty of this is it sets your predefined goals. You know exactly where you're going to be, and it keeps you from potentially going off the beaten path. That's not to say that there couldn't be new facts that would emerge later that might increase your settlement range or decrease your settlement range. But for purposes of your negotiation, know what your framework is. Negotiation tip number 2 when trying to settle your claim is to prepare. And specifically, make sure to bullet point your crib sheet before you ever pick up the phone and talk to an adjuster. Communications can go left, right, they can go sideways. Make sure that you have your bullet points of exactly the issues that you want to address and that make up the components of your claim. Have it on a cheat sheet, have it with you, and that'll make sure that if you end up moving sideways, that you can come back to the middle and come back to the heart of your negotiations and increase the value of your claim. Negotiating tip number 3 when trying to negotiate your insurance claim is to listen and mirror. Mirroring is a technique of listening to what somebody says and repeating the gist of what they say back to you. And the reason this is so important in negotiation is you probably have no relationship with the insurance adjuster the first moment that you pick up the phone, but every little bit, the psychologists tell us that you move forward to develop rapport and a relationship helps. And one of the techniques that psychologists tell us works is to listen and then to mirror. So if the insurance adjuster is telling you why they had a very, very bad day in small talk, and they tell you, yeah, and it was the worst day ever, as silly as it sounds, listen and say, yeah, the worst day ever. And by doing that, you're validating what the insurance adjuster is feeling, and you're opening them up to be receptive to what you have to talk about. Tip number 4 when negotiating your claim, prepare a list of questions that you want to ask in advance. Questions are perhaps the most important part of negotiation, and no one ever talks about them. Everyone thinks it's what you say that will win the day, but come on, let's be real, right? Are you going to really convince somebody that already has another opinion about something just by telling them how strongly you feel? And the answer is no. But questions allow another person to speak, and they do 2 things. One, they give you information. Where is the insurance adjuster coming from? What do they perceive to be the bad facts of your case that maybe aren't bad facts and that you can remedy by listening to them? Where are they off? Do they have facts that are wrong and that you can correct them? But they also give the insurance adjuster the opportunity to speak and in his own mind, listen to what he's saying and maybe realize that some of his positions are untenable or unreasonable. So prepare your list of questions. Tip number 5, when negotiating your claim, pull out your list of questions that you wrote down and ask them. Just because you wrote them down doesn't mean you're going to remember to ask the questions. And so what we train our case managers to do when they first start working with us is to ask at least 5 questions. It seems a little bit difficult, but it works. It gets communication flowing and also helps to build rapport. Tip number 6 when negotiating your claim is to seek commitment on the facts that build the basis of how you're valuing your claim. So, for example, you may have a certain value to your claim, and it's based in large part on the fact that your client has substantial economic damages. Now, of course, you've already sent a demand package over to the insurance adjuster, and it included medical records, and so you think there shouldn't be any question there. The insurance company knows what these medical economic damages are, but that's not always the case. In fact, usually it's far from it. Sometimes the insurance adjuster discounts your medical bills, perhaps because the insurance adjuster thinks that the medical treatment was unnecessary or it was too much. Or sometimes the insurance adjuster discounts your medical bills because the insurance adjuster believes that they're going to be written off. Or sometimes the insurance adjuster, just for whatever reason, made a mistake, missed over it, or missed over a particular bill. So seek commitment on some of these underlying propositions that are important to your case. Ask the insurance adjuster, what do you have for my client's economic damage? Ask the insurance adjuster, what do you have for my client's lost wages? Tip number 7, know your BATNA. Your BATNA is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And for us in the insurance claim business, and for us lawyers, that usually means filing a lawsuit, or if you're already in litigation, that can mean extending litigation and potentially going to trial. But know it in advance. It will help you go back to tip number 1 and confirm that your valuation of your case is correct if you know what the costs are that you and your client are going to have if an agreement is not reached. Tip number 8, when negotiating your claim, is to isolate disputed facts and be willing to stop the negotiation to go ahead and resolve those disputed facts and come back later. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at it this way. Consider the scenario where your client, and you believe that your client has $30,000 of lost wages. Now that's a lot of lost wages, and that's going to be a big component of your claim. But using one of the tips beforehand, you've isolated and recognized that for whatever reason, maybe it's because of lack of proof, the insurance adjuster doesn't believe that that's the right number. Instead, the insurance adjuster thinks that the lost wages is really $10,000 or $15,000. Well, if the insurance adjuster is at $10,000 in lost wages and you're at $30,000 in lost wages, and that's an economic damage, what are the chances that you're going to be able to resolve your dispute? Probably not good. So why not stop the negotiation? Try to understand why the insurance adjuster doesn't believe what your damages are, and see if you can go back and gather up the appropriate evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt to the insurance adjuster that your number is the correct number. Maybe that's going back to get W-2s or pay stubs or tax returns. Or in high wage cases, maybe that's hiring a forensic accountant to go ahead and do the numbers for you, or an economist. Regardless, be willing to stop your negotiation to solve the factual disputes and be willing to come back later. The 9th and final tip when negotiating your claim to try to maximize your value when you're negotiating with the insurance adjuster is know when to not negotiate. That's right. It's probably the most important tip, which is know when negotiation is the wrong way. Know when to step away from the table and file a lawsuit. And when is that? It's pretty simple. You know what your numbers are. You know what the settlement range is on your case. And you're dealing with an insurance adjuster who's coming in way, way, way below that. You've gone through the other tips. You've figured out that there isn't factual dispute. They have all the information. They're just lowballing you. Don't waste your time anymore. Don't negotiate anymore. Don't even respond. Just move forward, litigate, and ultimately, as you move forward aggressively and proactively, let the insurance adjuster, through their insurance attorney in litigation, come to you to negotiate.